Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grandstand Sports Data, your go to channel for sports, statistics, and unbiased handicapping. In this video, we're diving deep into our quarterback analysis and dissecting their 2024 performance based on statistical projections. We will be giving each of the 32 projected starters a letter grade based on an algorithm used in our past quarterback evaluation videos. Make sure to check out those past videos. We will also put a link in the description below to last year's video as it describes all the trends we will be using in this video. And finally, if you appreciate the analysis and love our hard work, give the video a like and subscribe to our content. Okay, so let's start with our failing quarterbacks. And number one, or number 32 in the league, is going to be Will Levis. And as you can see last year, in our final quarterback video, we didn't have him in it because we only covered really the top 10 to top 15. He finished 42nd out of 44 eligible quarterbacks. So he wasn't too good. He wasn't hot enough to even be a starter when you finish 42nd out of 44. There is slight improvement to his game, but he didn't show much last year, and the slight improvement that he is showing is still making him one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL just based on our algorithm and based on these statistics. Moving on, Sam Darnold. We don't expect much from Sam Darnold, pretty much the same quarterback he was with the New York Jets and with the Carolina Panthers. The only thing you will see here is drop percentage, and that's going to show you how good your receiving core is. Obviously, he has a top 8 in the league receiving core with Justin Jefferson and Addison. So but not much to be expected from him. So let's move on to the D minus quarterbacks, and this is what we would consider substandard. Let's go on to number 30. It's going to be Bryce Young. Not much of a good year last year. He kind of stunk up the joint, but he was a rookie. He was on a team that does not really show much support. They traded one of his best weapons, or was going to be one of his best weapons, and as you can see, the drop percentage. So that kind of tells you how good your wide receiver core is. It's about middle of the road. They do have a bit of a decent offensive line, as you can see, 10th in the NFL when it comes to the pressure percentage. But all around, it just does not look like he can cut it in the NFL. Moving on to Baker Mayfield at number 29. And this is where I disagree with the model. I do think Baker is going to be pretty good this year. I think the major question is going to be him staying upright. You can see he's going to be pressured a lot. He's going to take a decent amount of sacks. And that's what's probably going to do him in. But other than that, he's also not the most accurate quarterback when you look at the on-target percentage and you also look at the completion percentage. So he might take a little bit of more risk, and he's not too accurate when it comes to those risks. Moving on to number 28 is going to be Daniel Jones. He also has a D minus, and I kind of want to show this. This is where it gets a little iffy with the algorithm. You can see that his on-target percentage is first in the NFL with 80%. You're also going to see that he doesn't have bad throws, much bad throw percentage. What I want to show you that you're not kind of seeing is that if you look at adjusted net yards, he's 31st in the NFL. If you look at him pushing the ball downfield and getting touchdowns, he's 32nd in the NFL with a high completion percentage that has him in the top 10. What does this mean? A lot of dump off passes. That's how you have good accuracy. That's how you limit your bad throws, and that's how you have a high completion percentage. Short screen passes, but you don't get any production. That's what leaves you 32nd in the NFL. See what I'm saying? On to the D plus quarterbacks now and what we would deem insufficient. Well, one of them is going to be Kyler Murray. I want to say he's been lackluster throughout his career. You can see one of the best bad throw percentages, so he doesn't have bad throws, but he's also not the most on target. So what does that mean? He throws the ball away a lot, and he does scramble a lot. Uh, he's going to be having one of the worst offensive lines. He will get a little bit of an increase when it comes to wide receivers as they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's hard to really put that into a number just yet. You want to see more of him and how he pans in the NFL. Another D plus quarterback according to our trends, it's going to be Geno Smith. I thought Geno he was decent in Seattle, but I think he's going to take another step back. He does have the weapons from the drop percentage, with DK and Lockett. He's got the guys. His bad throw percentage is not bad at all, second in the NFL. So he doesn't have much bad balls, but he's not on target enough, and he's also going to get pressured. Any quarterback that gets pressured is not going to give you the results that you want. Doesn't matter. You could be Tom Brady, Montana. You can be Peyton Manning. If you get pressured, your production will go down. And that's the case here with Geno. Moving on, is the next one is Russell Wilson, 25th in the NFL. is how we have him, and that is because of his sack percentage. He's going to be getting pressured as well. Also, he may not have the best receiving core, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, well, what about your Pickett and these guys?" They do drop the ball a lot. Statistically, they drop the ball a lot, and then Russell is a mediocre quarterback on top of that, with not the greatest receiving core and being rushed a lot. That's what's gonna make him be a D plus this season. Moving on to the below average or C minus quarterbacks, the first one's going to be Jacoby Brissett from the New England Patriots. You can see interception percentage. He does do a good job of protecting the football, but you can see from his accuracy and his on target percentage, so his accuracy numbers, I guess, he's about middle of the road, mixed with one of the bad wide receiving cores in the league, or the worst wide receiving core in the league. It's not going to translate to success, especially with that 29th ranked touchdown percentage. Now we're going to move on to C minus, and this is where we get heavy into our rookie quarterbacks. You're going to see both Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. We think that Caleb is in a better position than Jaden, but I think that Jaden will, I guess he'll produce more on his feet than Caleb. Caleb probably can produce more, but I just think that he's going to take more risk with his arms and thus lead him to being slightly down. And don't get me wrong. I think that CJ Stroud finished somewhere around here, 23rd in the NFL last season. So we're not saying that it's going to be completely terrible. It's his rookie season for both guys. So now finishing up the below average or the C minus quarterbacks, finishing off with the rookies. And Bo Nix, he's going to be finishing the rookie class in the below average. He throws the ball well in the middle of the field, does a good job. Having Sean Payton should actually help him, but I do think he's going to be limited as he doesn't push the ball downfield well or to the outside very well. So, just like we said about the rookies, it's better. We need to get more of a sample size for us to get clearer information. Coming in next is CJ Stroud at number 20. And I know people are going to go crazy over this and be like, at number 20, what? Number 20? Yes, he finished 17th last year. What people don't understand is that, yes, he had a great season, and he still is projected to protect the ball well, just like he did last year, have a great quarterback rating, just like he did last year, and his adjusted net yards were great last year. The knock on him is that his bad throw percentage. He does have some bad balls. He just didn't pay for them because his interception rate was very down. And his on target percentage, he wasn't the most accurate quarterback. Like we said, he finished 17th out of 44 last year. At the end of the year, when teams had more tape on him, his production kind of went down a little. Then he revved it up in the playoffs, which made me like him. If you can prove yourself in the playoffs, I like you. I don't care who you are. If you're a playoff performer, you're my type of a guy. I seen that from him, and that's what I liked. The one thing I'm scared of, though, if I'm a CJ Stroud fan, and believe it or not, and I know you guys are gonna get mad at this, is Diggs. Diggs is in that locker room. If CJ doesn't give him the ball, it won't take but 3 days for him to complain about it, and that's not good. It's not good for Houston. So let's move on to some of the average quarterbacks that are graded a C. First one's going to be Deshaun Watson, as you can see. Deshaun, I think that he's going to have a worse year than a C grade. I do think that Jameis eventually will take over the job. I just C is being generous. I think that the trends are basically still holding on to some of them Houston years. As you can see, he hasn't panned out. He gives up a lot of sacks. His adjusted net yards per attempt. That's probably based on some of those sacks. That's draining him or wearing him down when it comes to these numbers, and he's not very accurate when it comes to his completion percentage. He will be slightly protected, though, with having statistically the second best offensive line in the league. Now, moving on to Gardner Minshew, I think he's very similar to a Jacoby Brissett. The only thing is that his production across the board is a little bit higher than Jacoby's, along with the same protection of the football. If he can do that, he won't be bad. So 18th is where I have it. Maybe a little. I say me, it's really the algorithm, but I kind of agree with the algorithm here. Anthony Richardson, this is a guy that I'm down on. I think that he's only a guy that uses his legs, can't really throw the ball, and some of these statistics prove it. With the bad throw percentage being 31st in the NFL, he's not on target being 21st in the NFL, and then 31st in the NFL when it comes to completion percentage. Touchdown percentage also doing him no justice being 27th in the NFL, even though he does protect the ball. I do feel that he's very young. He doesn't have much of games played, even in college, high school. He's very young to the game, so he could get better, and he does have the physique. But You know, you need to have much more than that. Let's move on to some of the quarterbacks that we just deem fair. And there's only really one here with the C plus grade. It's going to be Matt Stafford. And as you can see, I think Matt Stafford is going to perform well. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this season. So I disagree with the algorithm that has him at 16th. He does throw the ball, in bad spots sometimes, being ranked 28th in the NFL. I got to say, though, if he stays healthy, especially with that wide receiving core, I think he's going to do better than this. I really do. On to some of our satisfactory quarterbacks, or B minus. We're going to start with Jalen Hurts. And some of these guys we would call the honor roll grade, so B minus or above. Jalen Hurts being ranked 15th in the NFL. We like his numbers all across the board. The only thing is the interception percentage, being ranked 24th in the NFL. If he can, limit his mistakes, he will be better than advertised. He does have that wide receiving core, top 10 in the NFL. And obviously that offensive line that was number one, hands down, now taking a little bit of a hit, but not much, still being top 5 in the NFL. I really do think that he's going to do some good things this season, and you can expect the Eagles to, of course, win a lot of games. Next will be Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, on target percentage, not too great, and he's going to be pressured this season. This was a guy that in our last year's projections, based on our trends, we had actually being one of the top 3 quarterbacks, and we completely whiffed on that. And you know what? I kind of believe the algorithm this year. I don't think he's going to be in the top 10 or top 5. He does have the good quarterback coach there, but I just don't see that grit in Trevor Lawrence. That grit that you see from CJ Stroud, that grit that you see from Jordan Love, the grit you see from Patrick Mahomes. I don't see it in. Sometimes he looks like he's just lost out there in some of the bigger moments, and you just can't have that as a starting quarterback. Moving on to Justin Herbert, and I do not agree with this. I just don't. 13th, nope, it's not high enough. That's right, you heard me right. It's not high enough. With Harbaugh moving in as the head coach, this guy's going to have a hell of a year. I would say even past top 10, I would say he might be the 5th, top 5 quarterback this season. In terms of production, that's different from saying he's going to light it up statistically. I'm just saying on this algorithm, he will probably finish 5 or above. Look at it here. Great bad throw percentage, so he's more accurate. Yes, he may not have the receivers, but remember they've drafted McConkey that you don't know yet. So you don't have the if he's a possession receiver, if he's a guy who can kill you downfield, but even they have that. So he limits his mistakes with only being 4th in the NFL when it comes to interception percentage. His QBR is always top 10. He doesn't take much sacks. I think that with this coach, that's what they were missing. That's what I think Los Angeles was missing this whole time, and he's going to benefit from that. So let's finish up some of these satisfactory quarterbacks, the B minus. Next would be Derek Carr. I disagree with this. I don't think he should be top 12 in the NFL when it comes to this algorithm. I think that these numbers here are just way more important. The bad throw percentages, the on target percentage, and then he's going to be pressured a lot. And then you can also see from his drop percentage, which means statistically, and I know you hear the names like Olave and all those guys, but statistically, taking the names out of it, they drop the ball a lot. Coming in at number 11 is going to be Joe Burrow. I think this guy, if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a fantastic season. He's one of those guys. He's an all-pro if he can stay healthy. But that's the problem, is keeping him upright. Sack percentage, 25th in the NFL. Guy gets hit a lot. You can see from his accuracy numbers, he's unbelievable. 3rd in terms of bad throw percentage, 4th in terms of on target. The guy's always hitting people in stride. And that doesn't even count the wide receiving core. Remember, those numbers don't count the wide receiving core that catches the football with Jamar Chase. So you may say, well, of course he throws a great ball because he has Jamar Chase. No, that's not how that works. That's an independent grade. The drop percentage is where you factor in the wide receiver. So Joe Burrow, even without the wide receiver, he can throw the ball into spots wherever he basically wants to. The guy just needs to stay healthy. Next would be Lamar Jackson. This guy, he's very hard to handicap. He's a guy I never got into him. He's a great regular season quarterback. Comes to the playoffs, he just doesn't have that grit. He doesn't have that tenacity, and I don't. He just defenses know he just can't throw the football. He also takes a lot of sacks, obviously. He doesn't have the best. We just touched on it with the bad throw percentage, and he's very mediocre when it comes to on target. And his wide receivers this season don't look like they're going to do a favorable job, as statistically they drop the ball a lot. So He still may finish in the top 10 like this algorithm says. But remember, this algorithm is based on regular season. He has no issues in the regular season. He does have an issue in the playoffs, though. B grade players, a solid or a good. I'm going to start with Tua. Tua, I think, is going to have a great year. You can see here, he's just top 10 in almost every statistical category except for being pressured. And then his interception rate. That's his rate, remember, his rate. So 2.5% of his dropbacks result in an interception. So that's what's good about this number is it's comparing apples to apples. When you're comparing a guy who throws the ball 40 times in a game compared to a guy who throws it 20, this is a good apples to apples comparison. So Tua, in terms of that, in his interception percentage, his efficiency could be a little bit better. With these numbers, he'd definitely be better than ninth in the NFL. So this makes me worried, and it's something that I touched on earlier. It doesn't matter if you're Brady. It doesn't matter if you're Manning. It doesn't matter if you're Montana. If you see pressure, you can't be as good as you can be. You can't hit your ceiling, and that's the facts. Coming in with a B as well is Jared Goff, and this guy has consistently been in the top 10 since we've had this channel. In every category with our algorithm, he's always consistently ranked in the top 10. The guy has performed. I can't take that away from him. He is going to have one of the better offensive lines in the league. You can see he's mediocre when it comes to the accuracy stats. When we say mediocre, it's about middle of the league in terms of starters, the 32 starters. He's going to be well protected, like we said, with the sack percentage third in the NFL. He limits his interceptions. The guy's going to win football games when you touch on all those. He does the fundamentals better than anyone else. Jared Goff is going to be in the top 10 again this season. Let's start with our commendables, which would be our B pluses, and starting that top 7 is going to be Kirk Cousins. And I kind of agree with this. I think Kirk Cousins, as long as he's been playing, he's been able to stay upright. His numbers have been great according to this algorithm for the last, I want to say, 3 years we've been doing this. He's graded on target, second in the NFL. He's going to be well protected over in Atlanta. That's another thing I want to touch on too that we haven't been able to touch on since the offseason is that Atlanta's crazy for signing a guy that can win now and then drafting a guy for later. That's a stupid thing somehow. Like what? I've never. What planet am I on? Wow, what a concept that is. That a team wants to win now and win later. Wow, what a concept. But moving on to just what we were basically saying is that Kirk Cousins, a top 10 guy in terms of most of these stats here, where he can pick it up a little bit is his QBR. But other than that, the wide receiver course statistically, we all know he's got the weapon. We say it in our head based on fundamental analysis, like London and the Bijan. We know he's got the weapons, but statistically, they drop the ball a lot. Moving on to the next guy, we really like this guy, Jordan Love. We liked him last season. We thought that he did the opposite of CJ. CJ kind of dropped off a little bit at the end of the year. Jordan Love picked it up at the end of the year. And some of this, I know you're gonna see some of these accuracy numbers, and they're not too good. I think with the coach, he schemes it up. He schemes it up so that yes, he can get away with some of this. Some of these guys are butt ass naked open, which leads to those throws. He could have still a bad throw, and it'll still be deemed a catch. Remember, bad throw percentage. You could throw behind the guy, and the guy still catches it. It's still labeled a bad throw. Now, he's still's got a good adjusted net yards per attempt, top 5 in the NFL when it comes to that. And he pushes the ball downfield. He's producing. That's the whole point. He produces. Next, Patty Mahomes at number 5. And this doesn't mean that the Chiefs are going to be 5th in the NFL. They're not going to win the title again or anything of the like. It just means based on this algorithm, he's going to finish 5th in the NFL. He kind of has since we've been doing this about 5th or higher almost every single season. I really don't need to go through the stats. You know what he's capable of in the regular season and in the playoffs. I think he's finishing 5th because of the down year last year. And remember, this is based on trends. So some of the trends are pointing slightly downward. Next, let's move on to the superior quarterbacks or the A minuses. We're talking about top 4 guys. And the first of the top 4 is Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I think he does a little bit worse than 4 this year. I don't think this is going to be a good year for him. I think he's losing one of his biggest weapons. You can see that from the drop percentage. The wide receiver core is not going to be as good. He does produce a lot of turnovers, both here in terms of interception percentage, and then the other thing that's not labeled here, and that's fumbling the ball. He doesn't protect the ball very well. He does have that good QBR and good sack percentage because he is able to scramble and use that big body to never get tackled for a loss. But I think it's going to be a down year for this guy. Next is Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's going to be a great year for Aaron. Aaron, second in the NFL for touchdown percentage this season. That's what the projection says. Second in terms of passer rating. Top five in terms of sack percentage and adjusted net yards because he has a better offensive line, being sixth in terms of pressure. His on target percentage has always been on target. He's going to be middle of the year, middle of the road when it comes to bad throw percentage. I think he's going to be great this season now that he's healthy. And I also think the Jets are going to be pretty good this season as well. On to our elite quarterbacks, and by elite, we're just talking about based on the letter grade. First one's going to be Dak Prescott. I know people are going to push me. Dak sucks in the playoffs. Yeah, this isn't based on the playoffs. We agree with you. He sucks in the playoffs. Regular season, though, this is where he is. This is where he's produced. Ever since we've been covering this for 3 years now on our channel, and for I don't know how many years other than that, he's always produced right where he's landing. One of the years he didn't produce as much as people think, but it's because he wasn't eligible. He had injuries, so it left him out of some of our modeling. But he's always finished about, I would say, top seven or higher. And you can see from all the stats here, him being ranked almost in the top 10 in almost everything. So you can expect another good year from him, especially with a contract year. That's obviously going to have that extra motivation for him. Number one, I highly disagree with this, but these are the numbers, and Brock Purdy's coming in at number one. He's our only A plus grade. He's number one in completions, number one in touchdowns, almost number one across the board until you start getting to some of the accuracy numbers. Accuracy is not the most accurate. I think it's the scheme that he's in that really gets the most of him. Uh, because look it's the interception percentage. Now some people are going to say he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. Based on his dropbacks, if he dropped back as much as Mahomes did, he'd throw a lot more picks than Mahomes. If you're looking at the volume, we'll give it to you. But we're looking at the efficient numbers, efficiency, the percentage of his dropbacks. He's not too great when it comes to that. So I think he's a guy that this algorithm has him number one. He's kind of earned number one in terms of the scheme that he plays in. But me with the eyeball test, I think he's a little bit he's outside of the top five. That would be my hot take. So we hope you found this video entertaining. Our goal here at Grandstand Sports Data is to always provide you with the stats that bring unbiased handicapping. So if you did enjoy this video, hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your feedback is everything to us. So leave a comment down below on your opinion and what quarterbacks you think will have a great season and the ones that you think will stink up the joint. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.